All right, thanks, Rob. Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush unveiling a new public safety bill yesterday, and it's being supported by, of all things, Ben & Jerry's. Yes, the ice cream company. For more on this, let's bring in veteran Chicago police officer and spokesperson for the National Police Association, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, and also former Milwaukee sheriff and Newsmax contributor, Sheriff David Clark. Good morning to both of you. Sergeant Smith, I'm going to start with you. Cori Bush's $10 billion bill is seeking to defund the police and replace them with social workers and non-police first responders for emergency situations. Your thoughts?
Well, and I want to reiterate, I'm a suburban Chicago police officer. Look, she calls American policing, and Ben & Jerry's jumped on this, that we're violent, racist, ineffective, punitive, and yet in Cori Bush's district, homicides were at a record high last year, and she talks about our communities are tired and we're tired of gun crime and this and that. 92% of homicide victims in the St. Louis area are Black. Nearly 100% of the offenders are Black. She doesn't talk about that. It's not the police that are killing people in her district and around the country. We've got to talk about who's committing the crimes instead of attacking the police. But of course, Ben & Jerry's has decades-long history of attacking America and, of course, attacking law enforcement. This is a silly bill. It's, when you look at it, it's just childish in its goals, and it's never going to pass. But yet it gets them the attention that they just crave.
And we'll get back into that Ben & Jerry's conversation in just a minute. But I want to ask you, Sheriff Clark, Cori Bush made headlines earlier this year for spending nearly $70,000 of her campaign funds on personal security. Can you make that make sense for us?
No, I can't make that make sense. Look, it's a classic do as I say, not as I do. Cori Bush must hate Black people because, as was mentioned, they have the highest murder rate in the country. Violent crime is spiraling out of control. The overwhelming amount of victims in these cases are Black people, many of them good, law-abiding Black people. Cori Bush is an imbecile to suggest something like this so-called crime bill, which really works against the police. She's a straight-up cop hater.
Okay, so I want to take a closer look at the Ben & Jerry's website now a little bit. Let's take a look at this new flavor. It's called Changes Brewing. I believe we have a little excerpt. It says, grab your spoon and dig into a flavor boldly celebrating safety and liberation for all. It's time to divest from systems that criminalize Black communities and invest in a vision of public safety that allows everyone to breathe free. Sergeant Smith.
Let's talk about the unfortunate and uncomfortable fact that who is primarily criminalizing Black communities is other Black people. We've got to talk about that. In my native Chicago, we don't talk about that. In St. Louis, we don't talk about that. Here's the thing, Ben & Jerry's loves to get involved in these far left causes, and yet I'm guessing that they have extraordinary security at their factories. They don't unlock their doors. They don't, throw money around like crazy saying, oh, everybody can, we'll just take care of everybody. It's silly, it's childish, and just like the sheriff said, frankly, it's racist to keep insisting that the police are killing Black people willy-nilly when we know that that is not the case. And Cori Bush pays private security because she wants to be safe. She doesn't care if her constituents are safe, and she frankly doesn't give a damn about her Black constituents at all. She cares about herself, her safety, and her fame and notoriety.
And it's interesting how much this conversation revolves around an ice cream flavor because of the fact of how they came out together, how it was endorsed. And let me ask you, Sheriff Clark, because as Sergeant Smith was just pointing out, this isn't the first time Ben & Jerry's had made waves for their activist stances. Earlier this year, we saw they would say they would stop selling in occupied territories in Israel, which led to a number of people protesting and boycotting the company. Do you think perhaps they should just stick to ice cream, or what do you think?
No. Look, Ben & Jerry's and Cori Bush are a perfect match, dumb and dumber. They're trying to mask over what the real problems are in the city of St. Louis, as in other major ghetto areas in the country, and its urban pathologies like ineffective parenting, fatherless homes, school failure to stay consistently employed. They're young people making questionable lifestyle choices like joining gangs and using drugs and alcohol. That's what the problem is. That's what she should be working on. But she doesn't want to face that ugly truth. She wants to deflect this onto the police. The police are not a threat to black people in St. Louis. The criminals are. The mayor there is supporting defund the police. The mayor of St. Louis, there must be something in the water there. The mayor of St. Louis wants to close the city jails at a time when violent crime is skyrocketing in the city of St. Louis. They deserve better representation than what they're getting right now, but maybe there's not much to pull from.
All right, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith and Sheriff David Clark, thank you both so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Thanks.